Thank you everyone for joining in for today's webinar. Today's all going to be about mobile engagement, about the strategies on onboarding and retaining your mobile users. My name is Natalia. I'm Product Marketing Manager here at UserPilot. And joining me here, we have Kevin, the head of product design, and our CEO, Yazan. This is actually our second product webinar of this year. Last month, we discussed session replays and how great it is to combine the qualitative and the quantitative data. So if you've missed that, the recording is still available on our web. But moving on for today's session, so we're going to discuss mobile engagement. Why is it so difficult to retain users on mobile? What we can do about it. And then Kevin is going to give us a quick sneak peek into the new mobile engagement solution in UserPilot. So let's get started. The first thing, we're going to look at some data. So looking at the stats, it's actually really clear that there is a huge issue when it comes to mobile retention. The average retention of mobile users on day one is only 25.3% before it falls down to only 5.7% on day 30. So the churn is really, really big. It's much bigger than what we're used to on the desktop applications. On the other hand, the data also show that 90% of these users are more likely to stay and become long-term users of the app if they engage at least once in a week with your mobile app. So in UserPilot, we are really aware of this happening, and that's why we decided that we also need to create engagement solution for mobile apps. So Yazan, what were the gaps in the market that you see and you were like, we need to do something about that. We need to bring this solution to the market.
Yeah, so first of all, a lot of our customers had mobile apps that they needed to analyze their usage there, see what's happening on mobile, just like we have the capabilities on the web. So we provide insights, both quantitative and qualitative on the web. We have a lot of engagement patterns, and so a lot of our users were kind of in the dark or had to use other tools. So one of the biggest reasons why we decided to do this is to reduce cost and complexity on our customers from having to go and use other tools for analytics and engagement. And a lot of the times those tools are very niche and focused on mobile, so they do lack kind of that cross-platform support. I think that's the biggest reason we wanted to avoid having fragmented tool sets. We wanted to bring all the capabilities to you, so you could see the journey of your users across different platforms, right? And that way you have a better visibility and better insights, more 360 view on what users are doing, both on web and mobile, and even the journey across it. So if someone is doing, a specific action or using a specific feature on web, are they also interacting with kind of that feature? What are they exactly doing on mobile?
Absolutely. And then Kevin, what makes mobile engagement so different from the web engagement? So how this shape the approach for creating the mobile engagement?
Yeah, well, it's very, very different in terms of serving your mobile users. You're obviously dealing with a lot less screen real estate, so it's simplicity over everything really was even our approach in designing this solution. I think most of our customers that have mobile applications, it's B2B. Their users, it's kind of a task-driven mobile application. So in terms of giving them all of the analytics around the events that are occurring, the screens that are being viewed, but then in terms of engaging those users in these task-driven applications, it's about keeping your users focused. So being clear and concise. I think a lot of the patterns that we apply to maybe engaging users on a web application where you have a lot more screen real estate can be a lot more varied. I think within the mobile space, you need to be direct, give the users the information, and then step back and allow them to complete their task. And that's kind of the approach that we've at least taken in this first iteration with slide outs and carousels that you'll see later on.
How did the design team approach this solution to bring like very effective and easy to implement solution for mobile engagement?
Yeah, well, it was Key for us is making sure that the mobile engagement is able to be implemented in a codeless experience. So in that way, you have a very intuitive builder within the web application that shows exactly how it's going to look for your mobile users, being able to create all of that clear, concise engagement content within the web application, and then be able to push that without the need for any code at all. I think that's kind of a core part of what we try to achieve in UserPilot, is to keep it simple in terms of the need for that technical expertise, try to make it a codeless experience, and in that way, we can best serve our product marketing managers, our UX designers. They're the primary kind of focus for us.
Yeah, one thing I will also add here in terms of the complexity is a lot of, like, this is the type of solution that you could really get wrong if kind of you decided to push on the wrong feature. So for example, I'll give an example with tooltips, right? So with tooltips on the web, it's very easy. We have a Chrome extension. You can select an element visually and attach the tooltip to that element. In mobile, it's very, very difficult because you don't have access to that. So we thought about a lot of approaches. How do we approach this? And it would have been very complicated to actually achieve that. And again, going back to the simplified approach, and mobile being kind of a lighter version of kind of the web version. You want that simplicity. So we focus more on things that you can push with zero code and technical stuff. So like slide outs or full screen takeovers. We have also leveraged native capabilities of the mobile, so push notifications, and mobile is special in the way that it has access to, the mobile app has access to the mobile capabilities itself, like functionalities like the camera, for example, things that just don't exist on it's harder to do on the web, and we wanted to also integrate kind of to that as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a great point that Yasin makes. We did look at our patterns that we use on web applications and see kind of how you could apply that to mobile, and we made very conscious and considered decisions to, in ways, pivot for mobile. Very tailored to the different experience, the different types of interactions. You scroll, click, swipe. It's, as Yasin said, a lot more light, and it would have been very easy to put out a solution that is overwhelming. Like, we're the layer on top of what could be a complicated application underneath. We needed to make sure that we remained simple, clear, and easy, and not to kind of add to what might be a jarring experience.
And I think also this is important for the users to think that the mobile experiences should be very different from what you're actually showing on a desktop. It's a very different experience on mobile versus the desktop version. But I would like us to move the discussion to the challenges that comes with the retention and what are the common pitfalls. So, Yazan, in your experience, what are the top reasons why mobile users are dropping off?
I think there's a bit different between the B2C and B2B. I think like with B2C, people have a limited attention span, and also that could apply to people are people at the end of the day, and especially on your mobile, that's very personal. So what apps you actually keep is that's very, very difficult to actually get attention there, and most people are just have a few apps that they use mostly. So I think you have to drive value even faster than web, right? And the challenge here is that, again, it has to be simplified. So again, with B2B, you have to drive value, and you have to drive value fast. The question is, why is there a mobile app to begin with? So if you're, if you're a business and you have a web, it's probably a lighter version that, doesn't have all the capabilities, but it has one or two things that you might need on the run, right? Like if we want to check something very quickly or do something very quickly. And I think, if the top reason that people, drop off so quickly is because they don't find value, then here what we need to do is ensure that, these key features, right, or champions features that we can drive is very, very quickly, in my opinion. Just make sure also the experience is very, very simple, fast load times. We don't want an app that crashes a lot or very slow. Not too many push notifications. I think that also is making it more personal when there is push notifications.
I think like the things that's also happening quite a lot with the mobile app, especially when companies do have the web version and the mobile version, is that the mobile is kind of like an afterthought. It's like nice to have, but they do not put too much effort to that. And then obviously that's why there is no retention of the mobile app as well. What are your thoughts on that, Kevin?
I would echo, I think, what Yasin has mentioned. I think it's quite simple in that it is very much overcomplicated in a lot of cases. Yasin mentioned the context is everything. Why is it mobile? Because there's particular use cases where you're going to be needing to use that app on the go. I think that comes back to as well the way in which you want to engage your user. If they're on the go, they've got a particular task that they've just jumped into the application to complete. If it's, say, a HR staff where they're trying to book a day off, or financial app where they're trying to log an expense report, you need to empathize with that user. They are on the go. If now you start completely overwhelming them with a huge amount of information, it's going to be a really poor experience. It needs to be focused, clear, concise, help them to achieve the task and move on because they're on the move.
Mm-hmm. And Yasin also touch on the personalization. I think that's like one of the key factors to retain the users, because like it happened to me, it was a B2C app, but let's say they got me to download this app and subscribe for art history classes. And I went through all these history classes and they had no more. So they started to target me with math classes. And I'm like, I don't want to know about math. I signed up for the art history classes, right? So like keeping the personalization and the value for that persona is extremely important. Kevin, like from the product design perspective, what apps get wrong when it comes to the onboarding process?
Again, it's going to be echoing the same point, overcomplicating it, not showing the value up front. I think that is the big one. When you're onboarding a user, you need to, as Yasin mentioned, particularly in the case of mobile, get them to the aha moment very, very quickly, or you will lose them. I think that's where the onboarding in so many cases fails. You're not giving the right information, selling the value prop of the application immediately. And that would be the simple answer.
My last question would be, are companies too focused on acquisition rather than retention? And how does that would hurt the long-term growth for them?
Yeah, I think a lot of companies are, right? And it's normal. You do want to acquire users, but I think especially for mobile, acquisition can be very expensive when you have very little time. I think most users are spending less than, maybe a couple of minutes you have really, and if you're not trying to optimize for activation, you're losing a lot of money. That's what I would say.
So we talked a lot about the problems. Let's move to the solution. I will take over here. So what do we have to do in order to turn the new users into long-term active new users, basically? So the very key factor is to onboard, activate, and retain users. Create a framework that would be very strong in this free aspect. So starting with the onboarding, the most important thing, as already Yazan said, is to reduce the time to value. So after your users download the app, your single only goal should be how can we get them to experience the value of our product as soon as possible. So if we are not going to get their attention, if we are failing to prove the value, we're basically going to lose them before they have even started. So the first drop-off that is really happening happens already during the login and sign-up process. So we really need to make sure that we're reducing friction already there. Now we can implement solutions like single sign-on, social logins, or even biometric authentication to really make the sign-up very easy. Hand in hand with that comes the cross-platform journey. So that's also worse than having disconnected experiences between the platforms, right? Like it happens so many times that I would start an onboarding on the web and then it would discontinue on the mobile or vice versa. So really making sure that we are providing a unified experience between all the platforms that we have. The third part that we've already touched on is the personalized experiences. So here is an example from the dating app. We don't have to have the dating app to know, to have the need to know basically what are the users coming to in our product, what is their ultimate goal, what are they looking for, even if it's just fun or it's like some business outcome. But like we need to have the right information about our mobile users on what they came to do, so we are able to then trigger them with behavior-based and demographic-based experiences. And coming to the last point is also something that we already touched on. We do not want to overwhelm the users from the get-go. We really want to be looking into how we can feed users feature by feature when it's relevant to them. So with that, we come to the activation. Before we can activate the users, we really need to take the step back and actually think, what does the activation means for the users? So we need to start with the aha moments. The aha moments are actually those instances where the user goes, aha, because they actually understand the value that your mobile app is bringing to them. They experienced basically the benefits of it. And in most instances, in order to get to these aha moments, you need to go through some setup actions. So that's, for example, on Instagram, you need to follow someone or you need to create an account. So the first thing that each company should do is to create this direct line between the sign up and activation. What are the aha moments for each of the persona they need to experience in order to understand the value of our product? And now it would be really lovely if they would just follow the line from A to B, but they obviously are not. They're going to get distracted. They're going to get sidetracked. And our job here is to create the bumpers. We have conversational bumpers and product bumpers that should get the users back to the track. Product bumpers, those are those that are happening inside of the mobile app. So that's the UX, that's all the product experiences, while the conversational bumpers are happening outside of the app. Those are the push notifications, emails, text messages, or customer support. And once the user gets activated, then our goal is to create habits of using the mobile app in order to get them back, keep coming back to our app and become more users. Let's talk a little bit about these bumpers. So we touched a little bit on carousels and slide outs that you can create inside your mobile app. Kevin is actually going to show us how to create those. So carousels are these experiences that are actually taking over your whole screen. And they work really well for mobile onboarding, for announcing some big feature announcements or any other updates that are quite big. And they are very well known for good engagement and CTA performances. On the other hand, then we have slide outs. These are less intrusive. They work really well for nudging users to take some key actions, to give them some contextual tips and hints on how to use the app, or to let them know about some announcements as well. And then we come to conversational bumpers. Conversational bumpers, as I said already, they are really great for re-engaging the users across platforms and trying to get them back. The best known ones and the most successful ones are usually the push notifications. Although we need to be very careful on how are we using them. They can be very successful if they are personalized and triggered at the right time. So not overdoing it, but really knowing when to push the push notification to the user to get them back into the app. And then we have other forms of communication like email or text messages. So coming to the re-engagement, as we said, like onboarding and activation sometimes isn't enough. Like naturally, the users are going to disengage over the time. And our job here is to create the strategies that would bring them back. So the first one is lifecycle messaging. I just talked about that. So we need to just remind users of the app's value at the right time across the right platforms. For example, you can take inspiration from fitness apps. They are reminding you to do your workout based on your past behavior, for example. And the point is gamification and achievement. Even if you're not a lifestyle app like Duolingo, you should really think how can you gamify at least with your experience of the app to re-engage the users and keep them coming back. Like Duolingo is really a king of gamification. They are making us feel guilty for not engaging with the app every single day, but there's a lot of inspiration to take from this mobile app. And then we're coming to winning back actually the inactive users. So even if the users are inactive, there is still chance to get them back if it's with time limited offers, or some other reminders that can be communicated through different messaging. For this, take inspiration, for example, from Uber Eats. As you can see, they give you these promos about choose your favorite dishes and get massive 50% off. So you can see that they are trying to get to finish that activation point. And as in order to get that 50% off, and it really, really works. So I also noticed that if I do not order something from Uber Eats for a long time, I actually gonna get 50% off very, very soon. And the last point, to keep continuously evolving and adding value to your product. And for that, you need to make sure that you have the right data. So make sure that you have the qualitative and quantitative combination. You need to know who are your users on mobile, what they're coming for, which features they're using, where they are dropping, and then combine that with the feedback from your actual users. They're looking for in your app, what is the NPS score of your mobile app. I talk a lot about now the theory, but Kevin is going to show us how to create this product and conversational buffers actually in UserPilot. So the floor is yours.
Thanks, Antalya. Okay, I'll start sharing my screen. Okay, so hopefully everybody has seen my UserPilot and also my mobile device screen here. So I'll take you through the full mobile experience in UserPilot. So let me expand the screen for the time being. So before we get into talking about building out these bumpers and really engaging your mobile users, it is important to show what UserPilot can do in terms of, before you start engaging, actually understanding what your activation is. How is your onboarding of users going? What is your retention like? And that all happens through installing the mobile token inside your application. So this is going to start giving UserPilot all of the important data. So once you have this installed in your mobile application, then when you go to our people area, you'll see now that you can actually start to understand who are your mobile users. So you will see all of the mobile users, the companies that they are attributed to. You have this really nice last seen on filter at the top. So this will actually help you dive right into reducing the list of users down to all of those that were seen on mobile. So suddenly you're getting this really important information now about who are actually the users that are logging into your mobile application. So with that, then you can build out segments, all of the same functionality that you have with the web application. Then when it comes to the data space, it's also going to be really important to start tracking the key events that are happening inside your mobile application. So this can be done very simply, just like you create other types of events inside UserPilot. You can create events for mobile specifically using the track event programmatically. So if we were to start tracking our primary button within the mobile application, this appears on a specific screen. You can create the tracked event here. You can simply copy the snippet, embed that in your mobile application, and then you will start seeing all of the event occurrences inside this nice dashboard. Again, you have a way of filtering down the data by the specific platform as well. So you can see your mobile events, how many occurrences they have. Then when it comes to mobile screens, we have a separate tab for that. So much like we have pages inside a web application, for mobile, you've got mobile screens. This can be created in the very same way that you create a page with, it's more similar actually to creating an event within UserPilot, and I can show how that happens. So let's say you want to create your home screen within your mobile application. You would create it here. You would take the snippet again, embed it inside the code of your application, and then suddenly you'll start seeing all of the views on this particular page. And you can see all of your pages down here. You can dive into the specific details for a specific page. Okay, so now you're set up on tracking all of the users that are using your mobile application. You're tracking all of the key events, and you've started tracking the screen. So you're set up, and you can actually even start to use all of that data in our analytics as well, again, to start investigating what is the activation like, what is the retention like. You can start building out kind of mobile specific reports if you'd like. Armed with all that information, now we're going to start creating some of the mobile engagement content. So within engagement, you have this new tab for mobile. And when you land in this space, you can create types of content. So what is live today is our carousels and slide outs. So to explain the difference, a carousel is a full screen takeover. It can be up to 10 steps. So ideal for onboarding, and I guess when a user has just signed up, has just logged into your application, kind of explaining what are the key parts of the application, really driving them towards that value immediately. Then you have slide outs, which are partial takeovers of the screen. So ideal for use cases like the user is in the application, you're announcing a new feature, maybe you're calling out that there is upcoming maintenance. Plenty of use cases, but it's kind of within context, giving a little bit more information to your user. Soon we will be going live also with push notifications, which are a great way of re-engaging your users, and I will demo that in a moment. Re-engaging your users, maybe bringing them into a particular screen or a particular feature within your application, and then maybe you'd want to surface a slide out. So all of these can be kind of knitted together as well for a kind of whole engaging experience. But let's see how you can create some of this content. So if we wanted to create a carousel for onboarding new users, and this is one that I was starting to work on earlier. So I go into the carousel and I'm going to open up the editor. So here you can see I've got 4 steps that I've been working on. You can see all of the general settings here. So it's pulling from a theme. So it's making sure that all of my colors are on brand. I can set the font family. I can set the alignment, any of the button details across all steps. If I want a dismiss action or not, we'll disable that for now. And also important to kind of set the progression. So in this case, that would be the dots along the bottom. You're setting the expectation of how many screens in the slide out the user has to get through. Coming out of that, they will know the value and they'll be able to drive on with whatever the task is they came to the application to complete. So on the right hand side here, I get a full overview of the carousel. But then let's say we want to jump into one of the particular steps. So here we're now in the edit mode for this first step. So again, you can kind of personalize all of the style of the particular step on the panel on the right. So here you can see I've chosen a layout of image, title, and then text, but you've got a variety of options here. And then this is going to be our welcome. So let's say we want to personalize this for your new user. So let's do that. And I'm going to use personalization here. And we're also going to embed a nice welcoming wave emoji. Okay, so I'm happy with how the first step is looking now. As I move through, I guess, reviewing the design of my flow, let's say I want to maybe update the image within this particular step. So I'm going to grab what is a little bit more of an on-brand image and pull it simply into place. You can add some alt text here for accessibility. And I'm going to save that, and immediately we render the image to the mobile screen. You can test that on iOS or Android. So now returning to get a look at kind of how the whole carousel looks as one. Maybe I want to add in another step here because we're welcoming our users to UserPilot. So I want to talk about our feedback feature. So here I'm going to grab some of my pre-prepared coffee and make sure again that all of the text is nice and consistent. I want to definitely ensure that my brand colors, which we've recently made an update to, so just to show you how the colors are all changed in a codeless experience. And then I also want to add a nice image so that it's consistent with the rest of my carousel. So I've got a nice illustration here. Again, it's rendered to the screen size. So if I return to all, I now want to reposition the feedback before the thank you. And then again, just to be wholly consistent, I want to pull an image into place here for celebrating when the user has completed the carousel. Yeah. So let me just drag this into place. Okay, so now we're very happy with how this onboarding carousel, looks. Now I want to just double check the settings, and this is really important. So you can tailor this carousel to specific screens. In this case, I guess that's, as it's an onboarding flow, you might want it to appear as soon as a user logs in. But you can also have it trigger on a specific event. That might become a little bit more important when we view slide outs in a moment. You can have the frequency set as well. And really importantly, you can trigger it for particular audiences. So maybe there's a segment of users that you want to trigger a particular piece of content towards. But for now, we'll keep this very simple for the purposes of a demo. And I am going to publish this carousel. And I'll publish immediately so that we can take a look at it. So now I'm moving over to my mobile device. And you can see the onboarding flow the onboarding carousel has been published immediately, everything rendered to the particular type of device that I'm using. So we can show that again. We had set it to show on screen 1. So as soon as I dive in there, it triggers every time. And you can see the nice personalized message as well in the heykevin@gmail.com. Okay, so we're very happy with our carousel. So now let's move on to maybe a case where you've onboarded your users and now you're releasing a new feature. So it's really important for retention to be keeping your users informed of product updates. It's always good in terms of retaining users for them to see that the product is always evolving and adding new value. So for that, you might want to build something like a slide out. So when the user is in your application and maybe they're exploring this new feature, that you give them a little bit more context about what is the value of the feature. And a really nice way that this could be knitted together with, and what's really exciting to show, is our push notifications. So very shortly, we're going to release within mobile that if you are to create content, we have a third pattern here, which is the push notification. So if I decide to create from scratch, I now have a push notification available to me. So as we are releasing this on mobile, I'll say it's my mobile release. And I'm going to put this in the folder of announcements. And now you have a very lightweight builder to create a push notification, which is going to grab your user's attention. So let me add some content here. Okay, and let's say for this as well, I'm going to add a little bit to go and check it out. And then what you could do is add a deep link. So this could take the user to that specific feature within your application, upon which when they land there, they're going to then meet this nice slide out that gives them a little bit more context, and they're able to then move forward and complete their task. So within the slide out, it is a single step, the same type of editor as the carousel. Again, you can view it on iOS or Android. So here, for the purposes of a demo, I'll trigger it to a separate screen, and all of the settings will keep simple. So let me publish that immediately. Okay, so now opening up the application, I'm on screen one. So we have to go through the carousel again. Now I've just received my push notification and I'm clicking into the application where it will land me on screen 2. I have this nice slide out, which is a partial takeover of the screen, gives me a little bit more information on what the value of the feature is. I click to dismiss and I'm able to drive on with my task, whatever that is that I need to complete. Finally, to speak about another use case, so we have the onboarding carousel for getting users activated, the announcements for retaining users and showing continuous added value. There are other cases that would be like applicable to slide outs and carousels. So things like maybe app maintenance. And in this, I've been working on a slide out. So here we're showing a different position. So it's positioned at the bottom. When the user's in the application, give them a little bit of information about upcoming app maintenance. Again, you're using this to give a little bit of helpful information to your user. We're going to use the personalization here and calling out that if there's anything urgent or an issue that arises, you can contact your CSM, and thank you for your patience, with a bit of personalization at the end. So let's say you have a particular segment of users that are on a legacy application, and that's why you need to do this maintenance work, to show that I can specifically target those users in the audience settings. So here I have a saved segment, which is my long-term users, of which I am a user. So in this, I'm going to publish the slide out, and let's publish it immediately and jump back over to my screen. So returning screen 1, I meet the carousel. I go through that. Moving on to screen 2, I'm presented what the value of this particular piece of the application is. And then for those particular long-term users that they are going to experience some app maintenance in the near future or near past, as this states, you can present a slide out of here, which is just a really nice, not too disruptive, but gives the information to the user, allows them to dismiss it and move on with whatever it is they've come to the application to do. So they're just a couple of the use cases that I wanted to go through. Also to call out that very shortly we will be, along with push notifications, releasing surveys as well, so that you can actually have your surveys tailored to those mobile users. This is very shortly to come. So again, trying to engage the users on another level in terms of showing how you care about their feedback and getting some of that qualitative kind of insight into how they might be finding using your application, in which case you can improve the application or add more engagement content. That's all for the demo, and I hope we have a few minutes to take any questions.
Thank you so
much, Kevin. So we have a few minutes left. There are no questions in the chat, so I have a few questions for you guys. What do you think is the next, like, how do we see mobile engagement evolving, and how will we continue improving this solution?
I think the next iteration, not just for mobile but user engagement is general, is hyper personalization. So now we are seeing obviously AI kind of disrupt a lot of industries. I mean, it started with customer support, but now we're seeing it kind of come and influence the next generation of customer engagement tools. And I think right now a big problem is, not how to build, but what to build, right? So, what do we, we see this data, we have too much data sometimes, right? And we're not sure how to act on it. And I think the next generation will look of tools is going to be able to consume all this data and provide a really hyper personalized experience. So when do we actually engage users and why, and kind of the context of figuring out the best moments to push for the best action. We are bidding big on AI kind of interfering not just in the building of the experience, not just helping you build things faster and easier, but also kind of what to build and when to build it and how to show it.
We have one question. In your experience, do you find it better to build mobile first or web responsive? Native app versus web responsive, and how do you handle those experiences?
So are we talking mobile apps, right? Or is it web or mobile first? Are we talking? Because the way I understood it is that should we do something mobile responsive first,
or web responsive?
Given that you have a web app, I would probably go for the faster approach of doing something kind of more responsive. Learn always the first version you learn a lot from. So that's what we do with our features. We try to release something very light initially, get a lot of feedback, and then once we have a lot more insights, a lot more feedback, we've seen usage, then we can invest further in kind of building out the feature. Obviously native will be better in the long run, in terms of performance, load time, dipping into capabilities of the device itself. Being native is obviously the better approach in the long term.
And just to add to that, that UserPilot has a solution for it as well. So if you are someone that has mobile web application in building all of your engagement content on top of that with UserPilot, we actually have a mobile view now that has just been released in the Chrome extension, where you can kind of tailor your flows to that mobile responsive experience. where again you might not need, you're not going to have the screen real estate. You might want to reduce the content so you can show or hide in the mobile case specific sections. So that's an important call out, that there is a big new improvement to the Chrome extension that people should check out.
Absolutely, Kevin. I'm really happy that you mentioned it. We totally forgot to mention that you don't actually need to have a native mobile app connected. You can try to personalize that already in the Chrome extension. Thank you everyone for joining in. We already running over the time. So if you are our actual users, you can already demo mobile engagement in UserPilot directly. If you are not our user and we would like to try it, you can try the free trial or get a demo with our team. So thank you everyone, and have a nice rest of the day. See you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.